Okay, let's get this work session, call it to order. Roll call, please.
Weir,
Here.
Casanello,
C.
Peter, Larson,
Here.
Snyder,
Here.
Ramirez. Here. Morris.
Maybe another couple of
Okay. Do a pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I was in Boy Scouts.
Good too.
All right.
See you later.
Yeah. Okay, now we're up to the agenda items. We'll start with the first agenda, the monthly financial report. Anybody have any questions? Anything you would like to highlight, Roberto?
I am trying to pull it up right now. Yeah. Yes, in fact, the highlighted portion, the proffers, I just placed that there as a placeholder, but I planned on removing it from the budget as it is a amount that will be held in the back end. But those are for the townhomes. We're starting to receive the proffer funds for the Robinson Village townhomes. But just kept that there so you guys can see it. But as they come in, we'll start moving them kind of similar to what we do for the ARPA funds, where we're maintaining them separate from the budget.
Yep, would there be subcategories, since there are like 4 topics we got to deal with?
Yes.
Schools, first
Yes,
response.
if you want, what I can do is on a monthly basis, because I believe that within the next 2 months we should receive them, I can give a separate breakdown as to how much funds we've received by the end of the month, separate from the financial stuff, so you guys are aware of the actuals coming in.
Okay, thank
But
you.
when you spreadsheet this eventually, you're going to break it down by category, correct?
My spreadsheet's already broken out.
Okay,
I guess-
all right.
I guess
That's
I'll-
all I'm concerned
yeah,
about.
I'll share that on a monthly report. So what I'll do is in the regular town council meeting for October, I'll go ahead and include that separate from the budget, so you guys can see it.
Good. Okay. Any other questions?
The only other update I guess I want to give you all is we will be getting ready to send out the real estate taxes invoices out by this Friday, by next week, as well as I'm working on the refunds. So those are in the works. So we'll get some more information to you guys Monday when it comes to that item as well.
Okay.
Is that something you think should be complete within the next 2 weeks?
So, in conversation with finance and the town manager, my goal is to get it completed by the 17th of October.
Okay.
To print them out by the 17th. Probably have the mayor and any council member that wants to assist with the folding
signing
and mailing them out. But my goal is to have them ready to be printed on the 17th of October. That is the goal, but that's what I'm shooting for. So, but I will keep you posted on it if it changes.
That's a good goal, and I do want to thank the finance group for their diligence. We went through a process, and it got voted in favor of the resolution, and I just want to thank the finance team for following through with it. But that's a really good goal.
And officially next Monday, you guys will see in your agenda packet the official ordinance that describes how the process will be done for the refunds, and also the resolution to officially be adopted by you all. And that's it.
Has there been any change in the sidewalk RFP, or where do we stand on that and the monies for that?
The contract should be all signed this week and moving forward, so we're proceeding, and then we'll schedule our pre-meeting to then discuss our timeline from there.
Have we discussed where we're going to draw that money from for the first tranche of work? Or is that still slated to come from ARPA? Or are we going to go ahead and,
So we are currently, if you were looking at the budget, we currently have that we've moved funds over from transfer from ARPA 4002. That is the last revenue item. We're using that to fund it, but and then on the expenditure line item, you will see that it's actually its own expenditure where we're tracking the expenditures, yes, but it's being funded by ARPA currently.
are we going to discuss on Thursday the option of putting that ARPA money back in the lockbox since that's a flexible source and using proffers?
So I believe that the conversation will be had, and I believe that at least from
Or
what I recall,
surplus, one of the two.
from what I recall, that we were going to wait till like mid-year as we get closer to officially made the amendment that would include that change. So if we have the proffers fully by then, we'll start moving some of the proffers funds to fund it.
That or surplus,
Decrease,
either one.
yeah, or decrease the transfer of the ARPA funds.
So you're going to do that all at one time in a mid-year?
Correct.
Okay.
That is the goal as well.
Makes sense.
Marshall?
I meant to call you about this ahead of time. Bob and Joe, with now that we made a decision on the refunds, was it? Oh, my bad. Excuse me, tired. Turned 49 yesterday, I feel old.
That's it? For tonight?
Anyway, I digress. So, when I'm your age, you'll be,
They don't have gray hair like he does.
I digress. Projects coming forward. Now that we've made this decision to do the surplus refund, how do we set up, or maybe not today, but how do you plan to set up funding these other projects?
That's what we were just talking about.
Okay, that's what I was looking for. Gotcha.
Because we've got two separate pools, well, actually, we've got 4 separate pools of money.
Yeah, so we have the proffers are coming in.
Yep.
We have the surplus. We have the ARPA. We also have
CIP,
CIP funds.
line item funds.
So there's a few different options that we have discussed, 3 to 4, as Bob had mentioned.
And
Councilman Ware.
And
I think the strategy that we were trying to adopt was, I know I'm going to get this wrong. Use the surplus first, CIP second, hold on to the proffers as long as we can to fund the other projects, I think, but it's all,
Unless the restrictions
No.
prevent it. Because
So-
you want to use it in the categories, right?
yeah, I mean, in theory, I'd love to use the proffer money first because of the way that it's segregated and the way that it's constrained. But I don't know that we're going to have, we might have enough in by the time it comes to stroke them a check. But if we've got the surplus pegged to that anyway, so.
That's true, but you don't want to leave yourself in a position where you can't use the funds because it's allocated to a certain category.
Yeah, we've got so many other projects coming down the road in terms of town center. Eventually, we're going to have to do something with the park building. The schools will take care of itself. The fire department will take care of itself. The PD will have to make a decision on what CIP line item. I think, Chief, we were already talking about a cruiser, correct? At one point in time. So the ones where we've got the most flexibility are the ones where we've got the most ready cash on hand, both in terms of the parks and the transportation. I think we just play it by ear and cover it at that year-end amendment and shuffle the money in whatever manner makes the most sense. As I just stated, I think the easiest thing for us to do, just because of the fact that the funds are unrestricted, is to the extent possible, leave the ARPA funding untouched, use up the ones that are constrained, and then when it comes time for the really big ticket spending, like with this parcel, then we explore using the ARPA money, or if we don't have any debt left, which may or may not be the case by the time that project rolls around, we actually pull a bond although I don't know what the bond market's gonna be like at that point.
I should have asked it a different way. We have the CIP 5 years out. Can we start putting together some sort of critical path that sort of sets some dates and times when we'll do the park work, or we start putting out RFPs for the,
That's the intent.
okay.
We got the engineering back, right?
Yes, we have a quote back from a structural engineer to go in and do a report.
I meant, for this parcel.
Oh,
I meant, I said the park, but are we starting to plan out, I'm sorry, Emily, finish your
Yeah.
statement.
The park and this project.
I'm just confused which one we're talking about. I apologize. You mentioned park, Bob mentioned town.
I mentioned the park in terms of, if we're starting to populate some estimates on, timetables and when each of these start to move forward. If that's something you guys are already looking at, then that's fine.
Yeah, with respect to that structural engineering analysis, that falls within your,
Yeah, so all that has been accomplished so far is that we've received a quote for a structural engineer to come in and do the report, so then we can go out and look for bids on that work.
Okay. And then thank you for that. And then the sidewalk, we're already on top of with the signing of the contract, and then for the
Just for the design.
design, and then this project, we're finishing up the site plan still.
We're still finishing up the design
Okay.
engineering.
As soon as we wrap that up, we can start.
Would it be easier if we put together like a one-pager that lays out the different projects and what have you,
Yeah,
and take a shot at what
take a shot at an estimated timeline?
an estimated timeline,
Yeah, what's
a
in
potential
line.
funding source, where the funding source will come from.
Mr. Mayor, could I just suggest, because I've seen it done in the past where we would have a work session dedicated to that. All council members, they have their input, it's a day when you basically just start talking about CIPs and timeline.
Yeah, pretty much strategic planning.
Yes, exactly, but it's more defined, because right now,
Marchand.
Marchand is not, I was gonna say Marchand and I, but I think I'm included too. Not necessarily have the understanding of the pathway to it. Maybe Finance Committee has been dealing with it in looking at the CIP funding and stuff, but I think it's a council decision as far as hashing out everything that they would want to see happen with CIP. So it's not just with town manager and Finance Committee, it's a whole council, and I've seen it happen where we all just come together and do a work session and just talk about it.
I think that's the way we're headed. I just don't think we're at a point where we can do that yet until we get that structural analysis in. Because I think we've made the park the priority, correct?
Sidewalk and
Sidewalk, park, and then the town. So until I think we're sort of in a holding pattern until we get that structural analysis, because we are going to have a meeting to discuss what options we've got once that analysis comes in. And I've had a discussion with Marchand about this. There's going to be a pain point on that structure for me personally, when the analysis comes back, and we're all going to have to make a decision as to whether, depending on what the price is, how much we're willing to pay it, or how much we're willing to essentially go a different route. But we're not going to know that until the analysis comes back.
That's right. And in the meantime, we need to understand what the function of that building should be, right? What we plan
That's a
on
completely
using it
different
for.
conversation.
But I mean, that's what really decides the money, right? On whether it's worth the bang for the buck or not. Sorry for interrupting
No, you're fine.
your floor.
you were about to say something, Roberto?
No, so just to try, I don't know if this will help you, the answer you're looking for, the question, but as of right now, in the finance committee that we've discussed and in front with council as a whole, I think the number one priority has been the sidewalk. That is what we're focusing on right now. Then with the second being the completion of the final site plan for this town center project.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
As far as the other future projects, I believe Councilmember has stated that we have just gotten the okay recently to start doing the structural work on it, and from there on, you guys will need to discuss it. But as of right now, the main focus has been on the park sidewalk and the town center completion.
Cool.
Final site plan,
Thanks for the check-in on that. Appreciate it. That's all I have. Thanks.
Mr. Mayor, before we move on from the finance agenda or sub-agenda, if you would indulge me, I haven't made it public as yet, but most people know that I will be not running. Well, most people know I will not be running for the next council, but I will actually be moving from the area. We'll still be owning property here. Over the last 2.5 months, the chief and I have gone through meeting with our security vendor that has upgraded what we consider phase 1 of the security of the building. And we have a proposal, and if it's okay with you and the rest of council, because of the timeline that I'm scheduled to leave, I would like, if it's okay with council, to present it at Monday's town council meeting, because it involves, we may not vote on it then, but I wanted to be here to support the chief as we present it, so that maybe in the future, if I could answer any questions leading up to it this Monday. My last official meeting should be work session in October. My start date in Jacksonville is November 1st, but I will still be traveling back and forth, just like what I've been doing over the last few weeks. But I would just like to get council's approval to present it on Monday, if it's okay with you.
No objections?
Do you have anything prepared for Monday yet, or are you going to?
We have everything ready. It's just that, and just to give you a synopsis, we've broken down the security of the physical security in 3 different phases. We accomplished phase 1 through the funds that we already have in the security of the town. This is the whole building. So we've completed phase 1 of the physical security. Phase 2 has to do with some internal doors that we think needs to be electrified and some other aspects of it. And then phase 3 has to do with video surveillance.
What was phase 3?
Video surveillance.
Right, okay. I would ask that if you do have anything prepared, if we could get it in advance to help facilitate discussion.
Yes,
that would be
I can do that.
Yeah, we should have numbers. I mean, I think I've been harping on the chief to come up with a plan for a while as well, so it's good to see that I have someone else with who wants to try and push this forward.
Well, we've had, we contacted 3 companies and 2 fell through. Well, one was too high, another one couldn't do it, so we resorted to the company that we contracted the year before last on the PD side. So now it's at a place where town manager is comfortable with it, the staff is comfortable with it, chief and his lieutenant are able to program everything remotely, so they're pretty comfortable with the system. So we feel comfortable with the operations of it.
Yeah, that's good. I would like PIN codes so that
Yes.
it identifies who's coming and going.
Exactly.
Chief, you gonna have some estimates on that, so we could discuss on Thursday, so we can start planning funding?
Yes, sir. I do. We have estimates on that, and I can have them prepared for a Thursday meeting.
But before that, chief, we could send it out. Is that okay with you, with the rest of council? We could send it out before that, chief.
Yes, sir.
Sorry, I'll review it tomorrow and then we can tighten it up.
Yes, sir.
Miss Emily had a question.
Yeah, Emily?
I just want to make you aware the meeting's Tuesday, October 4th. Just make sure you can make it.
Here goes my Monday meeting. Yes, ma'am.
I just didn't want you to
What's happening on Monday? Is Monday a holiday?
No, mayor, vice mayor, myself, and Kim will all be at VML conference.
And nobody else got invited? Wow.
Really wanna go
Good
to
job, Mr. Mayor. No.
Cutting down
I just wanted the invite in order to turn it down.
I'd rather stick pins in my eyes than go to that.
On the whole weekend shot. I'll be down there doing training sessions and everything
Yeah,
else.
you love it.
Shot or shot in
You
the
love
ass.
it.
Good.
I would rather do other things on the weekend,
So
but,
would I. Like sleep.
okay. Moving on, ready? Okay, we'll move on then. Meals tax weekend.
Yeah, so the ordinance in front of you is the meals tax free weekend. This is, we do it every year. It's basically for the Haymarket Day weekend. We do a meals tax free for any vendors that are showing up for the one-time event, just so they're not obligated to do the meals tax 4% payment. So that is what is set in front of you guys.
There's no requirement for a public hearing on this, correct? Okay.
And you have the right points of contact with McDonald's, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Inside joke. They're double taxing Prince William County. Okay, any questions? So that should be something easy to vote on then next week. Okay, resolution for the Academy Charter. Chief, you're up.
Yes, sir. All of you all should have received an email on September 7th in regards to the adoption of new charter and new bylaws at the Rappahannock Regional Criminal Justice Training Center in Fredericksburg, which we are a member of. There were several takeaways in the letter that came along with the proposed charter and bylaws to include what the definitions of charter member, the definitions of training members, who the board of directors should include in reference to Code Sections 15.2, 1747, which talks about organizing an academy, and several different other things. One key takeaway was the fact that in my previous law enforcement experiences in places of employment, we had been a member of the Rappahannock Regional Criminal Justice Training Center, and I can speak that we never had a voice because we were not a charter member. That is the one key takeaway from this thing, is that only charter members had a vote in any actions that the academy was to take, including the dues. So no matter what the dues were set at per officer per year, the rest of the members had to pay basically without any representation. They just had to take that pill and swallow it. With this now, training members can be included on the board and does have a vote and does have a say into what proposed dues or obligations that the academy would take on in physical responsibilities. So there is a lot of positives with this. There obviously could always be negatives because they are separating debt service from operations, but they are wanting to just show basically where the money is going, so you can see what your dues are actually being paid for. And I can speak that the current Skyline Academy in Middletown was a part of the Rappahannock Academy. It was the original annex to that academy when the Northern Virginia law enforcement agencies joined that area, joined that academy, due to the staggering raise in dues that Central Shenandoah put together after they built their new academy. Basically, at that time, it went from roughly $148 per officer to about $700 per officer. So the Northern Virginia, the western side, was looking for an outlet, and Rappahannock stepped up and actually put an annex in there, in which, with that, became encumbersome of paying for that building to those agencies. And after that building was paid for, they separated off and became their own academy, basically, the Skyline Regional Criminal Justice Training Academy. So I'm very familiar with how the board has worked. Really, they've never worked against any of the law enforcement agencies, and I don't really foresee that now. I can speak to the director, as I've known him for several years in a professional relationship, that he is very good budgetary and does a good job physically managing the establishment there. I don't see anything on the horizon. I think this is all positives. I have vetted this both with both town attorneys, our prosecutor and our town attorney, and I also took it upon myself to call the director of the Skyline Academy, which I have been lifelong friends with, and she assures us that there's always a home there should things go sideways in Rappahannock. So basically, there's really a no-lose for us in this that I see. It's only gains. So I would be in full support of the resolution, and as was the town attorney and a prosecuting attorney.
Questions?
So what you're looking at is for the town of Haymarket PD becoming chartered member.
Well, no, we will still be considered a training member by their definition, but we will now have a vote. We basically can be a part of the board. And of course, I think probably in the next year, I would probably seek a position, especially with their financial subcommittee, And I'm not saying that's a guarantee, I'm just saying that that's what I would seek to make sure that we do have a say, especially the little offices, the smaller offices, that it's more cumbersome to pay than in some of the bigger ones.
That's a question I wrote down when you were talking. Because of your previous affiliation with other organizations, I wrote down, if you are elected to the board, how much of your time will be dedicated to the academy?
Well, I'm not looking to go onto the board. I would rather be in a finance position. They had asked me before, but I've got too much time constraints here. Got other things, in my words, I got bigger fish to fry here. But I'm not looking at a position there. I don't really want a position on the board there, but I would like to be involved with the finance committee there, which is a much, much smaller role than the board.
Right.
But that, again, that's post-accreditation to the department. I wouldn't be looking for that right now. I do not have the time for that right now.
Cool. You answered fairly. That was my only concern.
And sincere.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Joe?
Hey, Chief. Okay. So how many groups are involved in this? How many different organizations are participating?
43.
43. Okay. Any others from our area?
A few, yes.
Okay.
A few, yes.
Like?
Basically, most of your smaller departments are involved with that. We're probably the most northern department. Now, obviously, if you looked at schematics, what training facility would be best for us? It would probably be Northern Virginia. That's closer, but it's very expensive to belong to that.
Right.
And quite frankly, the quality of training at Rappahannock and at Skyland would be equivalent, with much less than cost incurred and incumbent upon the town to send officers there. But we're probably the most northern office, but we're still within that realm to where we could reach out to any one of 3 academies that we desired. And so we could be from, if you look at Haymarket to Middletown, we're closer to Middletown than we are to Rappahannock. But currently it's $100 more per officer there. So it would be another $900 raise in our dues a year. So it's really not worth that.
Right.
But as a conversation I was having earlier, if Rappahannock chose to build an annex or have some huge capital improvement that became hugely encumbersome on our yearly dues, then we obviously could just pick up and move on out to the valley.
Are we with them now? Are we
We're
training?
with Rappahannock now, yes.
Right. So you're very familiar with their
I've
operation.
been fortunate enough to be with that academy for several years, and with Skyland probably the last 5 years since they've been in existence.
Well, good. I like you.
And your lieutenant was a training?
Yes,
training team
Lieutenant Davis was actually like a deputy director position with Rappahannock at the Middletown campus when it was still the annex of Rappahannock.
Right.
So he knows the facilities and the wares there as well.
So we're all familiar with it, and we're getting a good bang for the buck. And
we are getting a good bang for the buck. We have no issues. They're very, very attentive to any needs that we have, even though that we're a smaller department.
Right. Cool. I like the idea, your initiative of wanting to get involved on the financial side to kind of protect us a little bit.
Well, it'd be less cumbersome than being on a board, and I'm really not looking for a position like that. I belong to enough boards in my area for nonprofits. I don't need to travel to Fredericksburg a couple times a month.
Finance part appeals to the two of us.
Yeah.
Shocker there.
And on that same vein, with respect to finance, so our exposure is probably not much more than what it is today, from a
Correct.
budgetary perspective.
Correct. And I could say from the previous, when they did the annex, it really wasn't a huge encumbered fee. It was roughly about $200 per officer per year to buy that building. So when you look at the scheme of things, okay, if we had to buy that building today, it'd be an extra $1,800 to the town a year.
Right.
So even if they had some capital improvements project like that, or went into some huge debt service for something, I don't really see them going that outrageous to where it would be encumbersome on the departments, especially, with the economy and how things are looking. I think it would be very in poor judgment to spend that money at this time, and I don't see them doing that though.
Right. And you have other options too.
Yeah, obviously with that phone call to Tommy Bauer.
Yeah. Okay. That's good. Sounds good to me.
Matter of
Thank you.
fact, Director Bauer would love for us to just come right now, but we're good. We're in a good financial place and we're getting the services we need, so there's really no reason to jump ship.
Super, thank you.
Unless the price of gas goes up to $9 a gallon, in which case we may have to reconsider going to the closer place.
Well, fortunately enough, we belong to Police One, which is $10 per officer per year, and we can do 99% of our training online to where the officers don't even have to leave their home or the offices. And we were able to purchase these computers so they wouldn't have to leave.
There you go.
So savings, savings, savings.
Looks good to me.
Good job. I try to be astute and ready when I come in. It's easy to answer one person. It's much harder to answer 7.
Okay, any more questions for the chief?
Thank you, Chief.
Yes.
Thank you, chief. Okay, moving on. The communications update. No vice mayor is here, so I'm assuming that town manager is going to sub for her.
Yes, so we have received our final deliverable from Michelle Cohen, Miles Friedman with Phoenix Advantage LLC. So we had previously met with them and discussed back in the late winter, early spring, what the final months of the contract were going to look like to include the deliverables. And Vice Mayor Tracy Lynn and I have been working with them on this over the course of the spring and summer months to finalize everything. And we ask that they take a look into the communications with the town and to ultimately work towards drafting a communications plan. What you see here in the packet is their work that they have delivered to us. This has not been edited or modified by the town staff at all. So this is strictly what they've presented to us for their final deliverable. What the vice mayor and I have discussed is we would like to plan to take the next month until the October work session to work on developing our draft communications plan, utilizing some of this information that was presented here tonight, that was gathered from the community, and really dig into where are we lacking, where do we need to expand, and get some ideas put on paper into a draft communications plan, as well as, if you kind of flip towards packet page 17, our current communication methods. What we would really like to do is actually flesh out how our community would be receiving information through these methods, what they would find on each of the different methods, because they'll find different information in our town meetings versus our Facebook page. So we would like to go through and really spell out what these items entail, how we update them, how we communicate, and what areas could be worked on. With that, we would then want to present at the October work session the draft communications plan. This would be prior to myself going out on leave. The idea with that being, you guys then have a rough document to review, take some time to think about, digest, talk with your neighbors, talk with your constituents, see if they have recommendations, if they have ideas that we can come back to the drawing board. And then Vice Mayor will be here to work with everybody on comments, collecting more information. If you guys want to have discussions, I would highly encourage it. And then upon my return, we would look at finalizing that draft communications plan to a document that is put forward as our plan and policy from the town of Haymarket. We can also look at, Councilwoman Mary and I were speaking before the meeting, possibly doing a communications committee, so those are some options as well.
Bob?
I think I voiced this concern at the beginning, but I'm sort of underwhelmed by the work product that we've been provided. I mean, 15 respondents is not terribly statistically significant. And
Yeah,
especially with all the
town
stories about
council
who we
and
were,
staff.
we were going out to this, we were going out to that, and I don't know how much credit to put in the responses. The responses don't surprise me, but I don't know how much value we can place on them on a mere 15 responses from what I suspect are the usual suspects in developing, not my thing. I'm not volunteering to get involved in it, but I just question the relevance of the data collected.
Chris?
Thank you, sir. I dislike it when Bob and I are on the same page.
Well, can you say that again?
I dislike it when Bob and I are on the same page. But thank you for that comment, Bob. So I'm going through the list here, and correct me if I'm wrong, Miss Emily. What is the town's mission and vision? 15 people. Values, 15 people. Brand of Haymarket, 15 people. Current overall perception of the town, 15 people. How credible is the town, 15 people? I'm assuming these are the same 15?
Are you looking at page 16?
Yes.
Yes.
So-
So one of the things I found interesting about the deliverable that I was not necessarily expecting to be included in this portion, rather I thought it would have been more of an appendix, was that they included this style of summarizing the survey responses, and they put it right in the section. So I thought that would have been more of an appendix, but yes, you are correct. On that first survey, it was 15 people.
So it's not a total of 75.
No, that's incorrect.
I was just hoping
No.
that for the past 9 months or 8 months, we would have gotten 75 responses. So we got one of the deliverables, 15 people responded, and how does the town communicate? So we have 47 responses. So I'm taking these are individuals, 12 stated Facebook, 11 stated website, 8 stated mail, 8 stated in person, 4 stated phone, 3 stated email, 1 person did not respond. Am I understanding this correctly?
No, I
My
think
guess
you're
is-
misreading it. I think it's 12 people acknowledged of those 15 that we use Facebook.
Yes.
It's 12 of the 15,
Yes.
11 of the 15.
So there I am again, hoping that this was something good, but it's not. So it goes back to the whole point that I was trying to make when they came here in person, and they had no deliverables, and I think it was a waste of money, and still feel that same way. So we are hoping that we would develop our own plan, maybe use some of the information. It's here. Most of this information I'm sorry to go on a soapbox, sir. I just think it's ridiculous we're spending this money to require a professional feedback, and it's not really professional. It's something you could have gotten. We could have asked the high schoolers who were here at our last meeting to go out and provide us with this information and collate it and put it in this format. I just think it's a waste of money, and I don't want to labor the whole point, but this is not a substantial deliverables as far as I'm concerned for a group that we've invested in over the last, regardless if it's CARES Act money. But we've invested, and this is what we're getting. This is a sad report.
Yeah, and really, when you look at these 15 people, you got 7 people who responded sitting on the dais.
I did not
here.
respond because the questions were stupid.
I didn't either.
So take my out of it. I'm not one of the
Okay,
15.
well, I know we were targeted, we were communicated that this URL was available for
And
us to
that
take the
was my
survey.
response. This is a stupid
And
question.
so, between us and staff, we're probably more than 3/4 of this, right? So,
And even when there was a larger push to publicly get it out there, share it on social media, share it at our summer concert, share it at our farmers market. I know Vice Mayor spent some time sharing the link, passing it out, having word-to-word, face-to-face communications with our citizens. We still were only pulling in about a 33, give or take, responses for the second round.
But those are events and activities that we pushed.
That's correct.
It wasn't something that this company pushed.
That's
We
correct.
are the ones, through the vice mayor and her leadership, that pushed it to try to get that response.
Yes.
So how we get our money back? I'm just
Well,
kidding, man.
You're
Come
looking
on.
at our money. We got 22 pages, so.
that's right. Too bad we didn't have a camera on Roberto at that point. I like the way he lit up.
Going out with a bang.
So with that, Vice Mayor and I will be working closely on taking a sample plan that we have found online from a smaller jurisdiction and getting some ideas from that plan on how we can really document what we think should be our communications plan of how we want to communicate with our town, our citizens, the outside community as well, and bringing it all together. We'll see what we can salvage from this, if anything, and we'll also look to our hopefully census data on some of that information as well that could be important and pertinent to the plan. And give some thought to anybody who might want to be on a committee for it come spring 2023.
He's already on the finance? Oh, sorry.
Well,
You're talking about
Not
Joe.
me.
New council.
Yes, yes, that will fall in the new council. That will be one of our first items that we would look to work on.
And Joe, you had a
Yeah,
comment?
you know, I'm not going to get into the report so much as the information. I mean, communication, right? Communication is essentially being heard and sharing one's thoughts, right? I mean, hearing on one side, hearing on the other side. I mean, but it's so complex. It really is a very complex thing. For me, what I get out of this report, even though it may be statistically insignificant given the sample size, which is really small and very disappointing, and I would agree with that. There seems to be a disconnect between what council may be thinking and some of the folks in town are thinking. Again, it's statistically insignificant, but you see that misalignment. So I did get a little something out of the report. It wasn't a total waste. And very disappointed. What are we going to do, and how are we going to get more people to get their feedback? I mean, that's really the big challenge here. And I think we've always had that challenge in town. I mean, we talk to folks individually and what have you, but getting responses back on surveys are always challenging. So what can we do to get a better response so that we have more and better information to help you hone and develop a communications plan? That's, I think, really the question right now.
And I think we'll have to think a lot on that. I will say one of the most beneficial things that I took from this entire experience was attending one of the meetings where two residents who we're very familiar with, but they live in Haymarket Station, they came up and they were very open and honest with Vice Mayor and I, and they shared that one of their ideas they thought that could be very beneficial for the entirety of the community, residents and non-residents, is if we implemented something as simple as a QR code, we got our businesses to buy in, display it on their windows, their menus, you know, in a public place. If we send it out as a fridge magnet to all of our residents, if our officers hand it out, but it's a simple item that can be scanned, and then it's a weekly, that website page would be updated on a weekly basis. It would have information that is current. It's not just your social media. So some of that feedback and that direct correspondence of how they felt was very beneficial.
So a question with the QR code and like updating the website. I know that events sometimes are posted on the website, but then they're not updated as needed with any kind of updates or whatever. Do we have in place a system to ensure that that is something that we can?
So what it will have to be is if we decide to implement the program, it'll have to be delegated to all of staff, and it will have to be recognized as a priority for all of staff. So every head of the department, and that's, you know, each of us individually will have to be prioritizing and updating and taking the responsibility together. Of course, I'll have the oversight of it, making sure it's completed and done weekly, but it will be a priority that would be delegated to each staff member.
Okay, thank you.
The other thing that I wanted to share that I thought basically preaching to the choir in this report was multiple forms of communication. I mean, I think obviously, I don't know obviously, but maybe it is, maybe it isn't. Seems to me that that's something that we always needed to do. It's either the website, Facebook, Twitter, in person, I thought it was interesting too about mailings, exploring that as an option as well, a little bit more. Even though it does cost some money, that's another opportunity. So maybe we need to do some more mailings. Our what is it, our newsletter? I think I read something in there about the newsletter being more of on a program basis, getting the newsletter out as a communication tool. So, I mean, I think they hit on a few things that were pretty obvious that we didn't need to be told. We should have been able to do ourselves. Any thoughts?
Can I add something to yours,
Yeah.
Joe? Is it possible that we could, maybe with the vice mayor's lead-in, come up with good, sensible questions on a 5-point survey that council members, we can grab it during Haymarket Day or even outside of Haymarket Day when we hit the residents and just ask them questions. We each have 2 to 8 neighbors, and before Haymarket Day we could reach out to those 2 to 8 ones with that small 1-sheet survey and just make sure they're sensible questions, to put together a survey. And we can do it ourselves. Think about it. In the next 2 weeks, if we get the proper questions on a survey, 1-sheet document, we each could knock it out and get 8 times 6.
We also put it out Haymarket Day at the
We could do it Haymarket Day at the 10th too. We'd get, those neighbors outside of Haymarket Day. But think about it. Each of us here, we could get 50 surveys response in 2 weeks. But we need sensible questions.
Well, that's the challenge, coming up with the right questions for a survey.
And for someone who used to be like in industry where, like a rail industry where you deal with people all the time, could come up,
Must be talking about.
I'm not the people
I'm just
person.
saying, someone who executive level, dealing with people, knowing how to respond to someone taking a train.
Someone who's retired, has plenty
Retired.
of time.
I'm just saying, I'm just throwing it out there.
That sounds like
Somebody who's rested and relaxed after a long
My
trip to Italy.
recommendation would be, if that's something that the council desires, you have 6 days before our next meeting. We can set this aside and we can talk about, everybody can come back with 5 questions each.
There you go. She
And
just batted it
so-
right back.
The council could have their homework of, helping us develop this survey. If you each come up with 5 questions,
You're going to remind us, right?
yes, I'll send you a reminder and a calendar invite.
And the most silly question, that person buy a round.
Nope. We'll discuss it
No
on
silly
Tuesday
questions.
night at the October 4th meeting.
Yep, I think it's
Because
good.
we can finalize it, we can plug it into SurveyMonkey, we can do a free QR code so that you have options. You can walk around with a piece of paper that says, scan this QR code and go do a SurveyMonkey. It'll take you 2 minutes, it's 5 questions, and then we can also do that at Haymarket Day. You could probably also ask the police department to assist if you felt that was necessary.
He's staring daggers through you.
They have a lot of community, policing and discussions.
Thought about reaching out to HOAs to disseminate?
We sent the survey link to all of the HOAs, asking them to mail it out. We sent it to the Facebook, all the things, all the businesses. So,
Well, my HOA didn't send anything.
Neither did
So-
mine.
I will be happy to follow
if
up.
you have your direct president's HOA email, that's also very helpful, because a lot of times the management
No, he
companies,
resigned. Mary's taking over as president.
a lot of the management companies are not forwarding the information directly over. So if you have presidents, vice presidents, secretaries, as many people as you can get us their emails, that helps us
Okay.
get it to the resident, who
Mhm.
probably cares more to forward it than the management company does.
Okay, I'll be happy to get that
Especially
information
with
for you
events
from
coming
us.
Okay.
Marshawn?
Just a couple of points on it. So we started to, I think, in the beginning of our term, revisiting the mission statement, vision statement, and town core values. I think at this point, probably for the new council to reaffirm that, but I think we do need to update those. Branding, I think with this development getting underway and then the hotel opening, branding is the appropriate time for us to either reaffirm the branding that we have, or what was the slogans that they had in here? Was it Everyone's Hometown is our most current one? Those, I think, all need to be updated as we sort of move.
So you want to change it to America's Rest Stop?
That is the planned interchange park. It's doing what it was planned to do.
Welcome to Breezewood South.
That was designed to, anyway, different topic. But, yes, I think there's some takeaways from this and some other things that we probably need to revisit at some point. So, thanks.
Okay,
5 questions.
5 questions by October 4th's meeting. Kim will put it on the agenda. We'll keep the discussion brief, so come ready with all 5 of your questions. If you would like to submit them all beforehand,
That would
That
be
would
better.
be even better.
so
That
we
would be
can
better, so
check
you can
off,
collate them.
and then we can put them all together and have them ready.
You don't need it for the agenda.
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. If you send them over, Kim will be at the conference with us, so we'll try to kind of put them all
So
together.
who's going to be here?
Roberto and Katie.
Oh, you're not going? Oh, that's right. You've had enough vacation days recently. I forgot.
Hey, he went to the town treasurer convention, right? How was that?
Sure these taxes and refunds all make sense.
Yeah.
You just don't want to go.
I got a lot to do. I got a lot on my plate.
You don't want to go to a hotel with no elevator again, right?
That's right, I forgot about that.
So try to send them over as soon as possible, and I will have Kim send out a email reminder for everybody with a little calendar invite. Maybe get it done by Friday.
Well, while we're talking about that, let me just throw it out here. What are we looking to get answers on? Just to kind of juice up the questions here a little bit. What are we looking?
Priorities, impressions.
So I just wrote one question here, and I was just going quickly to try to get my list out of the way. But how responsive is the town PD to issues within the town? Now, this name may not apply to everyone. Everyone may not have an issue that they have to call the police department, but
So, yeah, you got safety, you can governance, you can kind of direct your questions on all kinds of different things, business development.
no,
think
that's one of my 5.
I think one of the simplistic ones that I would ask one of my 5 would be, what's your preferred method of communication?
Simply
And just
put.
as simple, have them tell us.
Blank.
Well,
Yeah,
here's the
don't
thing.
bait them by giving them a selection.
Yeah, I was just going to raise that question.
Make them pick
Do you want to
one.
have multiple choice kind of a question, or do you want to have it open and let them state exactly what they think?
Have the major ones and then.
Because you have to remember, if you had something where it's easier to go through it, it'll be quicker done, and you might have more people respond to it. If somebody's writing it, it could be less of a response, but it could be better information. It just depends on what you're looking for.
No, I mean, that's a good question with 4 different answers, and they just circle one. You get an immediate response right there.
All right, but I got that question.
No, but,
I already wrote that down.
the
I
four
already wrote
the
it
4
down.
options was part of mine. So the 4 options was.
There's going to be a lot of overlap.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's good. That's good. You have 7 minds. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 minds.
Yeah, Chief, yours are due on Wednesday.
Roberto can have your 5 questions.
Yeah, you got it.
Oh, yeah.
And we'll get Vice Mayor too. We'll get her in.
Okay.
Okay, we good?
We are good on that.
Thank you.
Okay. Let's move on then. We got a letter of support for the railroad crossing grant program.
Yes, so we're on packet page 33. So Councilman Passanello and I have been in discussions with Prince William County Transportation Department, specifically 2 individuals, Rich and Salah, on the discussions of the Quiet Zone application, the different grant programs. We had a very productive meeting a couple months back where we also were able to have some discussions with the FRA. So we were able to make some progress in our discussions in where the application stands in what the future holds on how we can accomplish this quiet zone program. And so the county is looking to apply for the, excuse me, Railroad Crossing Safety and Enhancements Project Grant application to DOT. And so with that, they're asking for our letter of support, and 2 of the different railroad crossings that would be included for the town would be Jefferson Street, Old Carolina Crossing, and then you would also have the Route 15, and that's right on the edge there. So we are looking for council to review and express your support and sign this for us so that we can get it over to them. Their application deadline is October 4th. Since our meeting is that night, I would like to discuss the letter, any modifications that you may or may not want to make, anything we need to change, and then have it signed so we can get it to them ahead of time for their grant application to go and completed. And
I think,
Joe, do you wanna
yeah,
add?
if I could just add one thing, I think and I can't find it right now, I'll find it later. I think they extended the application deadline a week.
Okay,
Yeah, there was in the Federal Register about a week ago. So
Okay.
I'll send that over to you. But I still think it would make sense to get this buttoned up on Monday night if we can, and send it over to them.
So where does this affect? What's the location? Locations that this affect?
That they're going to be looking at for grade crossing improvements everywhere from,
But just in town, which ones aren't?
just in town, it's right here, Carolina Road. 15.
15?
Just,
15,
yeah,
it's-
Carolina Road and
yeah.
15. We'll have to do an evaluation of the private crossing, but that just doesn't apply.
I guess that's where I'm going at. Does it apply to that private crossing?
It doesn't, but it'll have to be evaluated. That's the way the FRA does it.
Is that all we have in town?
that's correct.
That's it. And then it'll also include Thoroughfare Road, and what's the furthest one out?
Oh, the one across.
So it's going to
Turner.
be Turner Road, John Marshall Highway, Thoroughfare, James Madison Highway, and Jefferson Street.
Right, and there is some talk about the one down on 29, which is just a maintenance. When they redid the interchange there at 29 and 55.
Oh, that maintenance one where the stub road is?
Yes, yeah, there's a possibility they could do a grade crossing elimination there, which would be good for them.
Why haven't they done that already? It's just a stub road that doesn't go anywhere.
Please,
It's-
that's logic.
Well, it's the county, unfortunately.
So,
I don't blame
anyway,
that on
so
the railroad.
it could expand that far for the quiet zone. We'll have to see. And this is just in support of them taking the lead on it, because they have the resources to do this. We don't.
Does anybody have any questions on this one? Okay. If you will send over that, if they extended the
Yeah.
deadline.
I'll look for it real quick.
Okay, thank you. And that's all that we have for the letter of support.
Bob, do you have a
Oh.
question?
No, not on this, on something else when everything else is done.
Our next agenda item, I'll pass it
Here.
over to Kim.
Is this a totally new subject, or?
No, for me, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so we'll put you on the last on the agendas. Do you have something? Okay, go ahead.
Mine's similar to mine.
Okay.
I've got a question too. It's not really yeah.
Okay, so
Go ahead.
we'll add those on as amended items. So right now, we'll do the consent agenda comments.
Last month at your meeting, you motioned to approve the consent agenda, and the numbers were messed up as far as, you wanted to pull the administration report, but you approved it.
Ah.
But you didn't approve the minutes for July 25th. So I just need to put July 25th minutes back on for a consent agenda approval for next month, or next meeting. That's it.
I'll have to read more carefully.
Who wants to go first?
How long is it going to take?
You'll be shorter.
Okay, just two procedural questions. advertising the election using our social media and our message boards. If we wanted to give a council director for that, do we need to write something up, or how do we, does there be a consensus? I can prepare something for next Monday, but if we can make it a discussion topic, I just didn't know where to, yes.
And I just wanted to add to that. Kim has prepared a one-page document on how to register to vote when early voting occurs, voting in person, and voting by mail, with different resources that has been posted, that has been displayed in Town Hall, and we can share to our public message board at the park and the museum. We're also ordering that one message board for the front of Town Hall. It can be put there. So in addition to that, then let us know from council if there's additional information.
Okay, is that something we sort of directive here, or should we discuss it next week at the council meeting?
Next week.
Okay. How best to bring it up on the agenda, where we put it on the agenda? Emily,
Put it on the agenda.
Free,
oh, just a line item, okay, line item for,
free and fair elections?
That's how you bring it up.
election announcements or something like that.
Make Haymarket great again? Baja?
Moving on. The next one was, maybe not for next month, but at the ARB last week, we talked about, or I brought up some of the blight. We have a couple of buildings that have been approved for demolition, but there's also one of the other structures that has been sitting. And so whether or not we want to move forward with the blight ordinance and expend the line item in the budget to address that. The first instance is some of the ones that have been approved for demolition. Just talked to Emily about me reaching out to those landowners to see if they can do some basic maintenance ahead of Haymarket Day, just so that the town looks clean. And then the other one, other property, whether or not to move forward on the blight ordinance. So it may not be an agenda item for this month, but I may bring it up in November. I'll work with Emily on how we want to move forward on using those. I think we have $50,000.
We've actually been discussing one of the blighted properties in the finance committee tangentially
Okay, maybe the same one
to
then.
that, so
Probably.
corner of Jefferson and Fayette.
Okay.
Yeah, we have a general discussion and take it from there, yeah.
Okay, that's all I had, thanks.
40,000.
40,000, okay, thanks.
You done?
Yes, sir.
Bob?
Just real quick, last week, to save Emily the trouble, I went and spoke at a county public hearing that lasted until 5:08 a.m. I didn't leave till 3. I am terribly concerned, Marchant, feel free to pitch in here. I am terribly concerned about the process and the mechanisms that are being utilized by county staff and certain people with respect to a number of projects that are before the board, and particularly the comp plan, which is coming up before the Planning Commission of the county on Wednesday night. I'm going to go again, and I suspect it's going to be another 5 a.m. meeting. This will be for the Planning Commission. I suspect the board meeting will be even longer, which we're potentially talking 2 days on one of these.
I'm sorry, Bob, the board meeting is Wednesday night?
Planning Commission meeting is Wednesday night. There are a number of things in the plans that cause me grave concern, some of which we have written to the county about officially, particularly with respect to things like the Haymarket Activity Center and a variety of other places. They want to put industrial all around us. They want to really jack up the residential densities in close proximity to us and elsewhere. It's going to have extraordinary infrastructure costs, which will have an extraordinary increase in taxes to be paid. What concerns me most is the county is barreling along a path where they are setting aside standard practice, in my view, and engaging in a number of procedurally, if not statutorily incorrect mechanisms to achieve what to me appears to be a preordained goal. I have a sneaky suspicion that it will impact the town rather negatively at the end of the day. So at the next meeting, is Martin going to be here live next meeting, or is it going to be the meeting after that?
It'll be the meeting after that. He will not be here October 4th, so the next meeting he would be scheduled to be at is our November regular meeting, unless you guys would like to probably maybe have him come in on the work session, depending on discussion.
What I would like to see is that either the October work session or the November closed session meeting, I think we need to have a discussion with legal counsel as to what options are available to the town as a jurisdiction to challenge particular aspects of what's going on. There may not be an option, but I'd like to see what options we do have legally, because I think we owe it to the residents to represent them as best we can right now, because quite frankly, when it comes to land use or anything else in western Prince William County right now, we do not have a representative. Our representative has recused himself from any and all issues regarding pretty much any land use or thing like that. And, you know, I'm wearing out the Brentsville District supervisor asking questions and trying to get answers. And it just appears to me that we'd be in a better position if perhaps we had some leverage, and we just need to find out what leverage or what options we've got. So I'd like to have that discussion with Martin.
So, if I may, so essentially, we're looking, or you want to explore whether we're an aggrieved party?
Yeah. And what our options as an aggrieved party are.
I'm just trying to follow Bob. So as a council, you're hoping that we can offer some representation to our constituents who you don't feel is being represented because of who's involved
Yes.
with the issues?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just confirm, we're talking the data center discussion.
Now this Wednesday night's comp plan. Data centers already on the way to the board, although the data center public hearing was scheduled for October 11th. It's now been deferred because, and I quote, the chair believes that we have to be re-educated as we've been misinformed. I mean, I'm waiting for the re-education bus to show up and take me to the county concentration camp because I'm going to get on my just a tiny soapbox, tiny soapbox. I'm not damn misinformed, and the chairman better realize that.
So part of what Bob and I were talking about is the rezoning that was down here, Cat Harpin and 55, that was up for a special use permit for data center. They pulled that while a plan amendment comes through to expand the overlay district for the data center overlay, correct?
It's actually been replanned, and this is part of the problem for Wednesday night. I mean, sorry to get everybody involved in the arcade bits of land use. They've changed the long-range land use map, redesignating that to a complementary long-range designation. And my suspicion is they are going to dramatically alter the overlay map such that they will no longer be required to proceed with that SUP. So my guess is they will expand the overlay, withdraw the SUP as moot, and then the county won't be able to condition the data center like they did the other two data centers with respect to which way the trucks carrying debris and construction materials go. They will not be able to condition the power line routing. There are a variety of negative consequences that would potentially negatively impact the town directly.
So that was the one we were talking about, was the plan amendment down there.
Next to Pace West,
Next to
yes.
Pace West, and then, so I've seen some online stuff about that. And then the other one you're talking about, just the overall comp plan amendments that affect the planning districts or the planning areas around.
Yeah, and I'd like to sit down and talk to you about things. I mean, I have asked the county attorney, and I've gotten no response yet. They instituted a mechanism last year under our previous planning director, who was here for a sum total of 6 months before being shown the door. But they instituted a manner in which developers, landowners, whatever, could submit changes to the comp plan, proposed changes to the comp plan in the form of small land use map change amendments, which were filed on county comp plan amendment documents and then accepted without fee and reviewed by the county staff and then incorporated into the overall 2040 comp plan. I think there were 19 of them. So you sort of subvert the process where those 19 would go through some sort of public process and have a public hearing required, but now they've been subserved into that and they're avoiding. So you'll get, instead of getting 3 minutes to speak on all 19 of them one at a time, you get three minutes to speak on all 19 of them and the rest of the comp plan as part of one larger discussion. And there are quite a number of them around us, including some industrial laydown sites on 55.
So I think, yes, I think as a council, we would want to look at what infrastructure would support, we would need, and some other things that need to happen. What was I going to say? So there's been no fiscal analysis, there's been no any sort of other analysis, because part of, you want a fiscally balanced plan, right, residential to commercial, and it sounds like this was sort of a free-for-all submission of plan amendments, and there hasn't been a holistic evaluation.
Well, it's interesting you say that because, I don't know if anybody knows this, I actually sit on the County Sustainability Commission, and we studied it. We studied the housing, the mobility, and the land use chapters about 2 months ago, and came up with a resolution and a brief in support of the resolution that pointed out all of the deficiencies where the 3 chapters did not comport with each other. Specifically, the land use chapter did not comport with either the housing or the mobility chapter. Nor did it have any sustainability in it. And there is no cost accounting for the infrastructure, no. There's no cost accounting for greenhouse gas emissions, I mean, all that other wonderful stuff, food deserts, yeah.
Thanks.
Joe?
Yeah, no, so just so I understand it better. So essentially, you're talking about policy procedures on the one hand, but also public input is going to be limited? Is that what I'm hearing?
Public input is, by the way they have constructed the process, necessarily limited. The question is, from a statutory and a procedural defect standpoint, do we as a town, what are our options to seek redress? Or perhaps even injunctive relief?
I got that. But I'm saying, what I heard you say earlier was that they're looking to lump a lot of the comment periods where you can't speak individually on
They've done that de facto by simply incorporating them in. And
so you only have a specific amount of time to speak, limited amount of time.
Correct, 3 minutes. For everything.
Yeah, that's, okay.
And that's one of the procedural defects I'm seeing.
Yeah, okay.
And that includes the town as a whole, because the town can comment as well, although we get 5 minutes, not 3. But instead of the town having 5 minutes to speak on particular ones that are of particular import to the town because they're within the 1 mile, or they have an impact on our power grid or water or whatever, we're not going to be afforded that opportunity because they're lumping them into one big project where you're talking about, the entirety of the county. This is the comp plan revision for the entirety of the county, and not only are they doing all of the land use. Not only would you have to address all the land use issues in one 5-minute comment, but you would also have to address the mobility, the electrical, the housing, and the sustainability, because they're going to lump all 5 chapters into one hearing with one opportunity to speak, which makes it almost impossible to speak comprehensively and competently.
We get 5 versus 3 because we're the town.
Oh, we're only one voice.
Okay.
Yeah, we're only one
We're not
voice.
multiple voices when.
Yeah, to circle back, I think it would behoove the town to take some sort of recommendation or consideration, at least let them know our feedback on it. So.
We need to talk about that. I think that's prudent.
That's it. Sorry taking that much time.
It's important.
So, directive for you, Emily, put that on your list of talking points to our town attorney.
And find out if Martin has a conflict in doing that for us.
So the council's aware that conversation will happen next week. He's still out of office this week.
I think
That's fine. We're looking for a presentation at the closed session. Is that what we're looking for?
Yes, I also want a presentation, or I want him to address whether or not the town's legal counsel would be conflicted as it is the representative for land use applicants in the county, or whether Martin is firewalled from that.
Right. That's a good question.
Yeah, because I think he'll need at least 2 weeks to prepare for this. He'll have to dig into some heavy documentation.
Well, what's your timeline on this, Bob?
I want to do it in the October work session of the November meeting.
And that doesn't conflict with their timeline?
At the rate things are getting deferred, I don't think so, because all we need to do is have a strategy by the time it goes to a board hearing, and I don't see it going to a board hearing until November or December at the earliest.
All right, good.
I got two people looking for questions.
Sorry, just to belabor this a little bit. So we got 2 points. We got what Martin could provide us in terms of relief.
Yeah.
And then we have the policy discussion, whether or not we want to make formal recommendations about the
Yes.
policy. Okay, thanks.
Okay, Mary? Okay.
I have one other thing.
Oh.
Move to adjourn.
Motion and a second, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Let's adjourn.
Oh, good.